Hey everybody, this is Aaron Murakami with eMediaPress.com, and this is going to be a brief video on how to make Liposomal C, which is the most bioavailable vitamin C that there is. This is ascorbic acid, which is typically one of the least absorbable vitamin C's. It doesn't exist in nature anywhere by itself. It's usually attached to a mineral, which would make it a mineral ascorbate. People can take ascorbic acid, vitamin C, and sometimes they can have diarrhea, upset stomach, and so forth. And that's because there's not really a mineral for the small intestines to latch onto and bring it over into the bloodstream, so a lot of it just passes through. It does have its place. The best way ascorbic acid is absorbed is intravenously through a shot or an IV. There is sodium ascorbate, which is a mineral ascorbate. That's, I think, most often used by vets. I'm not sure why they pick sodium ascorbate. Most animals make their own vitamin C, and if they have a deficiency, there are some cases where they need to give the animals C. I think typically they use sodium ascorbate. There's magnesium ascorbate, mineral ascorbate, manganese ascorbate, calcium ascorbate. You hear about these buffered C's like ester C, which is a calcium ascorbate, and so forth. Those are bound to minerals, like how vitamin C would exist in an orange, and those are very, very absorbable. So there's ascorbic acid, and then there's the mineral ascorbates, and then at the highest level there are liposomal C, which is more absorbable than any of them. So the reason Linus Pauling used ascorbic acid is because in an IV you are bypassing the digestive absorption and you're going straight into the bloodstream. But then you have another issue. Well, how bioavailable is it? How well can it go through the cell? Is the cell going to be at a high enough? Is the transmembrane potential, the voltage potential difference between the inside and the outside of the cell going to be high enough to have proper hydration, water delivery into the cell, other nutrients, ascorbic acid as a nutrient, and so forth. But if you have a liposomal C, which is vitamin C or an ascorbic acid or a mineral ascorbate encapsulated in a fat like lecithin granules. I'm not endorsing any of these companies. This is just what I happen to have. And you don't need Everclear and vodka. It's either Everclear or vodka. This is 85% pure alcohol, and this is going to be 40. This is more easily available. Some states you actually can't buy Everclear. It used to be illegal in Washington State for a while, and you'd have to go, not even into Idaho, you'd have to go all the way to Montana to get Everclear 190 proof, and I just recently found out that they actually have that in Washington now. So in any case, vodka at 40% alcohol or 80 proof is easier to get, and so what the recipe that we're going to be using is going to be using vodka, not Everclear. There is a recipe for Everclear, but the idea is to maintain a 12% alcohol by weight content, and we're going to go through all of that. But getting back to the vitamin C's, liposomal C, it's encapsulated in a fat, which means it is readily available in the intestinal lining, the small intestines. There's something called the active transport mechanism, and liposomes can go right through as if it's not even there. Highly, highly absorbable into the bloodstream. So if you had a ascorbic acid, a mineral ascorbate, or a liposomal C in the bloodstream, free floating, then what is going to be the most bioavailable form that's going to actually penetrate the cells? And that's going to be liposomal. And so it is even thought that liposomal C is so superior that oral liposomal C will actually wind up getting more into the cells than even IV ascorbic acid. And that's profound if true. And there are some studies to suggest that, but in any case, I recommend you do your own research. All I'm going to do, no claims, but I am going to show you how to make a liposomal C. And I believe the recipe that I'm going to be using is from qualityliposomalc.com. I'll verify that. And it is based on information from a patent If you see any homemade liposomal C instructions that do not have alcohol and they're only using water, it's fake, disregard it. You have to have an alcohol to make the proper liposomes. It's indisputable, and anybody that tells you otherwise is spreading misinformation. You have to have alcohol. So what we have here, here's the parts that you need. I might as well put a wooden spoon up here because you're going to have to mix this periodically while it's in here. Or it can be, you can use a pot. I'm going to show the instructions on how to do it with an ultrasonic cleaner, and then I'll give you a link. I think it's qualityliposomalc.com, and there are instructions how you can mix the vitamin C and the alcohol, for example, with a pot on a stove. And I did that before. We're going to make it in a superior fashion with ultrasonic cleaner, but if you do not have an ultrasonic cleaner or you cannot afford one, no problem. You can still make a decent liposomal C without, but it is recommended to definitely have one. And so the supplies that you need besides an ultrasonic cleaner, you're going to need a scale that can give you, fairly good accuracy. You're going to need a 1 liter beaker. You're going to need some ascorbic acid. Now, some of the commercial liposomal Cs use sodium ascorbate. You can use plain ascorbic acid, and that's what we're going to use for this demonstration. Walkthrough, you want lecithin granules. Do not use a liquid type of lecithin. You want lecithin granules. It can be from like soy, or it can be from sunflower. Preferably, non-GMO, the whole 9 yards. And then you're going to want some alcohol, and I would say 40% or 80 proof vodka. I like this Vodka vodka because it's easily available. It's at most stores. So I'd recommend this because it's a pretty good price. I think this is 1.75 liters is about, I don't know, $27 or something like that at the local grocery store. If you look at the link, there is a recipe for 90+% alcohol. This is 85, I believe. And so, but I just want to make you aware that there are recipes for the alcohol base that you're using that's going to be a higher percentage than 40%. But we're going to go 40%, easily available. Okay, so the recipe that we're going to use to maintain a 12% by weight alcohol content in liposomal C is going to be water, 26.8%, 254.6 grams. We're going to have 40% vodka or spirit, 35.6% at 337.8 grams. We're going to use vitamin C at 16.9%, 160.5 grams. And lecithin granules is going to consist of 20.7% at 197.1 grams. And this is going to make roughly 800 milliliters, which is 0.8 liters. Okay, so if we're looking at about maybe a little under half, okay, 800 milliliters. And if you go on to any of the retailer shops and you look at how much liposomal C cost, and you calculate, one dose might be 1 gram and there might be 30 in a packet, and you look at how much that costs and you compare that, per proportion to what it's going to cost you for 800 milliliters. What we're going to make in 800 milliliters, okay, which is going to be 0.8 liters, about this much roughly. Okay, 800 milliliters, that's 1 liter. 0.8 liters, that's about $200 worth of liposomal C that you might buy commercially, and this is going to cost you a fraction of that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual how to make it. Okay, so what we have here is we got the scale ready. It's zeroed out. I washed it with tap water, and then I rinsed it with distilled water. You can use tap water for this if you want. I would recommend purified tap water, and even better, I would recommend distilled water. And so anyway, I will be using distilled water with this recipe. So if we're going to be using vodka, the vodka ingredients, scale, it's doing its own thing right there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first mix water, alcohol, and vitamin C. So we need 254.6 grams of water, and we're going to be putting that into this beaker here. So 254.6 grams. Okay, so I have some distilled water here. I'm just going to pour it till we got 255 grams of water. $260, close enough. Okay, so -1 gram. Let's zero that back out. Okay, now we need vodka, 337.8 grams. So 338 grams of vodka. Okay, 343 grams of vodka right there. Close enough. Okay, we'll add that to the water. It's already at 0, but I'm just going to zero it out anyway. And then what we're going to add is a vitamin C, and we need 160.5. Okay, so 161 grams of vitamin C. So this right here, this company is Bulk Supplements. I'm not endorsing this company, but they have pretty good deals on bulk supplements. I think I get my D-ribose from them and some other stuff. And for vitamin ascorbic acid, you can't beat the price. Half a teaspoon is 2116 milligrams, so 2.1 grams. So 1 teaspoon is 4.2 grams. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pour this into the scale until we have 160 grams. Then I'm going to obviously be scraping it out into the beaker to get it all. So 161 grams. Okay, 162 grams. A little bit more for good measure, 166. That's because we went over several grams on the other ingredients. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to place this into the ultrasonic cleaner, and we're going to heat it to 35 degrees Celsius while the ultrasonic cleaner is on. And then we're going to stir it periodically. Since it's a piece of glass, I'm just going to stir it with a probably a wooden spoon or a wooden chopstick or something. And we're not going to set the beaker directly in contact with the metal, and never put your ingredients directly into the cleaner. One of the problems with that is it can actually burn it. I've done that before. And another consideration is that a lot of these cleaners come from China. I do not know what their passivation process is. Passivating steel is a process where they add chromium and whatever, and it's plated to the metal to make it a stainless steel. I do not trust any company for that other than food safe stainless steel made here in the States, possibly in Europe and whatever. And you do not want the glass to come in contact with the metal. So what we're going to do is, I have a piece of cardboard I've used for a long time, actually the same piece of cardboard for a handful of years. And we're going to open it up, open up the cleaner, and I'm going to remove the lid, and the beaker is going to set in here, and it's going to catch the neck right here, so it can just be suspended in a water bath. You do not want this in contact with any sides of the cleaner. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this water up, we're going to plug the power in, we're going to set it to 35 degrees Celsius, and in about maybe 15 to 20 minutes this is going to be completely mixed, and that will be our next step. So I poured 2 pitchers of water in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this and I'm going to stick it pretty much about right there, just see how much the water raises from the volumetric displacement. So it looks like I'm going to add maybe one more pitcher and we'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that cardboard there. We're going to stick this right through there. Okay, it's not going to touch the bottom, it's actually floating. Okay. We're going to set the temperature to 35°C. You can see actual temperature, it's reading 32, so it's not going to take that long to get to 35, obviously. By the time it's done, it may actually get up to about 30 or 40 Celsius, and that's because there's a lag time. Okay, 35°C. That's the actual. We're going to go, let's see, 20 minutes. We're going to go 15, then we'll check it, and we'll see what the actual temperature is, and we'll see if it's actually mixed. Can't see that in there, but I'm going to stir it with a wooden spoon occasionally. I'll back out here just a little bit here. Then we're going to turn it on. That's the heater that's on. And then better safe than sorry. We've been going about 11 minutes or so. About 80% dissolved. All right. Pretty much all dissolved there. So that is our vitamin C, alcohol, and water solution. Okay, so here's our solution of ascorbic acid, water, and alcohol. You see, it's a pretty good mixed solution. You got a little bit of residue of the ascorbic acid up here on the rim here. Not a big deal. It's 99.99% dissolved there. That's ultrasonic action did a really good job of mixing it. And again, if you do not have an ultrasonic cleaner, you can put it in a pan, put it on a very low heat, and make sure you turn it off enough so you don't overheat it, because heat will destroy the vitamin C. 35°C is not much. This is just kind of like a lukewarm temperature, and that is ideal because you're able to completely homogenize it make this ascorbic acid water alcohol solution with very little heat, so you're not really going to be destroying any of the ascorbic acid. So for our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to add lecithin, and since we're doing it by weight, what we want to do is add it to the beaker of solution, or you can add this to a blender and then add the lecithin granules. I'm just going to do it all at once. So we have the beaker of the solution right here. We're about 750 milliliters. And what we're going to do is, it's already zeroed out, 0. Hopefully you can see that on the screen there. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, and if we go back to the recipe, we're looking for 197.1 grams of lecithin. Okay, so 197 grams of lecithin. And we're going to add that to this, then we're going to put it into a blender, blend it, and then we'll go to the next step. So this right here is some organic, I believe it's organic lecithin granules. Do not use, repeat, do not use a liquid. Tastes pretty good. I always like eating that stuff because it tastes kind of like a dairy creamer to me. Sort of. Okay, so 197.1 grams. Of course, it zeroed out on me. Well, I didn't add anything but about 2 grams, so 197. So we'll go 196 grams. Okay, 200 grams, close enough. Okay, not rocket science, not critical. Just get really close. Okay, so now we got 200 grams. The goal is 197.1 grams. What we're going to do is we're going to pour this whole mixture of water, alcohol, and ascorbic acid that is homogenized by the ultrasonic mixing. We added 197 grams, or about 201 grams of lecithin granules. Don't use liquid lecithin, use the granules. And we're going to blend it till we homogenize it, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so the next step, what we're going to do with our mixture is that we're going to blend it for about 4 minutes to homogenize the lecithin granules with the water, alcohol, and ascorbic acid mix. I'm going to use a Vitamixer. I think that's pretty much the gold standard Rolls Royce of mixers. I actually bought that back in the 90s because one of my aspirations when I was back in my 20s was that I wanted to open a juice bar, and I had to do my research. And so it has a wet container and a dry container for blending or grinding grains into powder. And but this is the wet container. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put that into there. We're going to blend it for 4 minutes, homogenize it, and then we're going to refrigerate it. And we're going to repeat that every so often over a 12-hour period. You can go to 24 hours. So I'll probably go to 24 hours, which means I'm probably going to reblend it about once every, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours or something like that for the next 24-hour period. Make sure it's completely homogenized, and then we will be going back to the ultrasonic cleaner for the next steps. But for right now, you blend it, you refrigerate it. When it solidifies some, you blend it again, you refrigerate it, and you do that multiple times for at least a minimum of 12 hours, and preferably 24. So I'm going to take this mixture here, we're going to put it in here. Just put the lid on pretty good. Right there. Now I do want to mention real quick that you do want to blend it until it gets warm. The Vitamixer is so powerful that you can put a blend of vegetables and water and whatever in here, and you can blend it for X amount of minutes. You'll actually make hot soup because that blade is whipping at over 200 miles an hour at the tips, and it will actually heat it up and you can make soup right in a blender. We don't want it that hot. We only want it to about 32 degrees Celsius. And so over a period of about 3.5, maybe about 4 minutes, it'll be that, because you want it warm enough to kind of help to melt and dissolve that lecithin granules in the water alcohol ascorbic acid mix. Okay, so we've our mixture. It's pretty warm there. We don't want to overheat it. I don't have any room in my fridge for that, so I'm going to pour it back into the beaker there. Wrap on it there and put it in the fridge. We're going to let that chill, and I'm going to repeat that exact same thing where I'm going to pour it into the Vitamixer, and then I'm going to blend it, and then I'm going to put it back into the fridge, and I'm going to do that multiple times over the next 24-hour period until we go to the next step. Okay, well this is actually about 48 hours later rather than 12. I'm not going to hurt anything if that's in a beaker for a couple days. I have blended this in a Vitamixer. This is a pretty aggressive blender and it's going to heat up pretty quick. So the 3-minute recommendation on this, minute and a half to 2 minutes is really all that's needed in a Vitamixer. Other blenders, it'll take longer for it to heat up, and that's just so you don't want it to get too hot. And I've already blended this over the last 48 hours, maybe about 6 times, something like that. So I'm going to do a 7th time right now, and then we're going to put it into the ultrasonic cleaner. And one of the reasons for blending it is because this homogenizes the fat with the alcohol, water, and ascorbic acid. And this is actually creating liposomes even if you do not add it to the ultrasonic cleaner or submit it to ultrasonic activity. And what's going to happen is if you don't blend it enough, you're going to get like these long stringy strands and stuff, which are kind of unpleasant to drink. So you really do want it really homogenized. So again, I'm going to blend it one more time for maybe about 2 minutes. Then we're going to put it in the beaker and put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. And we'll go to the next step after that. Okay, so that's blended, and what we're going to do is we're going to fill the beaker back up. And you can see how liquidy this is. No long stringy strands, nothing. This is very, very homogenized. Again, it's about the 7th time over 24 hours. Put the cardboard on there, and we're going to put the beaker right inside here. It's going to sit down in that water bath. Okay, put the Vitamixer up. Step out of the way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to degas. That means remove all the bubbles from the situation. We're not going to heat it up. We're just going to let it run for about a half an hour, and all the bubbles are going to rise to the top, and this will further create higher quality liposomes, but it will also get all the it'll degas it. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on. Okay, we're going to set this for 30 minutes. right here. Let's reduce that temperature. The ambient is 14 right now. Let's just go to maybe 25 or so because we do not want to heat it up. The blending process does that, and you don't want to heat it up too much because the heat does destroy the vitamin C. We're going to go for 30 minutes. Okay, so now that we've gone a half an hour in the ultrasonic, you can see that the bubbles are pretty defined right there. It's more clear here, and all the bubbles are right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place it in the fridge. Okay, now what you have is a finished product that has the Liposomal C. You can skim the bubbles off the top, pour it in a mason jar, whatever. Okay, so what you have here is a finished product of Liposomal C, and each milliliter has about 0.2 grams. And so if you want 1 gram of vitamin C, that would be, you multiply that by 5, which would be 5 milliliters. 5 milliliters has 1 gram of C. And what we know about liposomal C is that if you take 1 gram of C, not only what you get absorbed into the bloodstream, but what actually makes it to the cells, as far as what the research is showing, is that can equal many grams of mineral ascorbates. So it is far superior. So although it's more expensive vitamin C if you bought it commercially, it actually comes out to be cheaper because it's not about how much you take, it's about what winds up in the cells. And if this is the most absorbable kind, then 1 gram of this equals multiple grams of other kinds of C, so you're going to be coming out ahead. So you can take as much as what you feel necessary, but again, 1 gram, that's 1 teaspoon, I believe, which is 5 milliliters, and 5 milliliters is 1 gram of vitamin C of liposomal C. So this sat in the fridge for a while. You can see where the bubbles separated by being in the ultrasonic cleaner submerged in the bath. It degassed a little bit over a couple hours, but not much. But what we're going to do is, if you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, you did not have to do that last step. But if you did, you're going to make a better liposome. You can remove the bubbles from the top. And then what the next step is, you can irradiate this in the ultrasonic cleaner until it hits 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And then once it does, you stop, you put it in the fridge, you let it cool down, and you repeat until you have a total cumulative time of 1 hour of ultrasonic agitation, irradiation, whatever you want to call it. And then at that point, you're pretty much done. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this back in, and we're going to reset the temperature to 32 degrees. Actual temperature is 23, so we're going to raise this to 32 degrees, and then we're just going to let it go until this temperature is up to 32 degrees, however long it takes. And when we're done, what we're going to do is put it back in the fridge. We're going to repeat again until 1 hour cumulative. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this timer to like 30 minutes, just so I have kind of like a baseline of what kind of time we're looking at. So if I come back, it's 32 and there's 10 minutes left, I know it took 20 minutes, and we got 20 minutes of ultrasonic. And that means we need 40 minutes more, obviously. So we're going to hit 30 minutes, we're going to go. Okay, so this was brought up to 32 degrees. I'm going to put it in the fridge, and then I'm going to let it cool down, and I'm going to repeat the process so that I have a total of 1 hour of ultrasonic agitation on the liposomal C. So far it's actually been about maybe 20-25 minutes, so I'm looking at maybe about 35 minutes more. So I'm just going to let this cool off for maybe, I don't know, half an hour in the fridge, and I'm going to do it for about another half an hour or something like that Took a little bit longer than I thought to heat up, so we're going to put this in the fridge, do it again, cumulative time 1 hour of ultrasonic, and then you have your final product. Alright. So that's what we have, finished product. So there's really not that many bubbles left, so it doesn't really have to degas that much. So all we got to do is skim these bubbles off the top, pour it into a mason jar or something, and then it's done. So there we have it, final product, 800 milliliters of Liposomal C, 12% alcohol by weight. We're done. Keep it refrigerated, and again that's 0.2 grams per milliliter. So 5 milliliters, which is a teaspoon, is 1 gram. And you do not need the equivalent amount of grams as you typically would with other vitamin C, because this is the most absorbable. 1 gram of this is the equivalent of multiple grams of mineral ascorbates, and quite a bit more equivalent than just plain ascorbic acid by itself. So, hope that helps.